Hey, what's happening, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the 8th episode of King Penny Podcast, man. We got a great guest today. Hey, I want to remind you guys about the deadlift contest tomorrow at the weight pile on the Rockies, 1610 Main Street. Hey, man, we got 4 possible prizes, 4 winners, man. Cash and prizes for not everyone, but 4 winners. You know what I'm saying? So tap in, man. 1610 Main Street, Longmont, Colorado at the weight pile on the Rockies, man. Hey, let's get this episode started, man. Let's welcome our guest, man. Hey, you want to state your name and where you're from, sir?
State my name and my occupation and where I'm from. My name is Ricky Ramos. I'm a professional comedian, or would like to be a professional comedian, or aspiring to be a professional. I don't know how you say it anymore. No, I'm a comedian. Born and raised in Denver. Grew up 38th and Federal before it was gentrified. Denver North High graduate. Love my city. Love my state. Big Rockies fan. Avalanche Nuggets. You know, first ever 47-year championship. Broncos. Ride or die. I don't care. You know, big old native boy. You know. Now I'm out here slinging jokes. So Longmont resident.
You done or finished with this? I don't know if you just...
I don't live on the east side, though. I live on the west side of Longmont, the fancy side. So
really? No, that's where you gonna go with that off the top. Huh?
I'm not gonna fulfill stereotypes right off the bat. All right, they're like, oh, this guy's from the east side.
So how long have you been in comedy?
I've been doing comedy for like 10, going on 11 years now.
How's it going?
It's got its ups and downs. It's like any other profession, I guess. But it is something that I get to wake up and get to do every day and love to do. And it is a dream come true, you know, coming from where I was coming from down in Denver and growing up at times where it wasn't as nice as it is now. It's nice to, you know, be able to wake up and enjoy what you do every day versus, you know, having to go to work every day and do a job, you know.
Everybody likes to do their passion.
It's a dream come true for sure.
How is the Colorado comedy scene?
Colorado comedy scene is a beautiful scene. It stretches from Fort Collins all the way down to Pueblo, various locations throughout the state, you know, all up and down the Front Range. It doesn't matter where you're at in Colorado, even eastern, you know, Plains, Colorado. I know a few comics out there that run some shows out there. So basically, you know, it doesn't really matter where you're at in Colorado. You can always find some comedy. You just got to kind of...
Is it like a tight-knit community, or is it like...
You just got to ask around. Yeah, like what? It's just, you know, it's kind of like drugs, you know? You ask around and you find something.
That's not a long conversation. You don't want to start that conversation.
Yeah, it's something where you just ask around, hey, is there comedy shows? Or, you know, most comedians are very eager to post their shows and what they're doing and what they got going on. So,
but I mean, are they helpful?
Are
you guys helping one another? Like,
oh yeah, there's a lot of the times, you know, we do try to feed off of each other because the energy, we all feed off of each other. You know, so if you know, we can bring that energy to another section of Colorado or bring that energy to another part of a town in Colorado, whatever the case may be, we're all going to try to accomplish the same goal, which is who needs comedy in their life. So
yeah. So it hasn't always been comedy, right? There's been some bumps and rough patches in your life, right?
Yeah, growing up in Denver, like I said, it wasn't exactly the ideal situation. It was, you know, obviously broken home situation. Grandma was there majority of the time. My dad was single parent, working as best he could to put food on the plates. And like I said, my grandma picked up some slack here and there, helping him out. Education was real big in my family. Education was key. But at the same time, you know, after my grades and homework was turned in, it was still the opportunity to go run with my boys and hang out with my boys. And obviously, you know, living both sides of the coin, you got to pick. And eventually in high school, it had gotten to the point where it was a full ride scholarship to UCLA to play golf, actually. And, you know, I wanted to be the cool kid on the block. I wanted to, you know, run around and act like my stank don't stink, and ended up part of Colorado state property. So, and I did that, was, you know, struggled with that, got out, kept doing the same old thing, repeated scene, started delving into drugs. And then I got the opportunity to move out here to Longmont through some family members. And I came out here, still same thing, flip-flopped, dealt with drugs, the whole scene, in and out of the system. Cumulatively, I spent about a good 17 years in the system. Consecutive, I did like 3.5 years behind bars. So I dealt and wrestled with it for a really long time, especially addiction. Hardcore drug users, never did anything super crazy, but it was, some scheduled substances here and there,
I don't have to get too far into that. Where are you at with that now?
Oh, I haven't touched anything since 2017, basically. Yeah, I mean, I do and delve in some recreational marijuanas and have a drink or two, but yeah, I haven't done anything hardcore for since 2017. Which, like I said, that in itself was a journey. Getting clean. I went cold turkey, got my shit together cold turkey. So it was a bumpy road coming where I was coming from, and then I was given the opportunity by the court system, actually, here in Boulder County. They basically came to me and they were like, "What are you gonna do? Like, what is your plan? What do you got going on? Like, you're young enough to figure this out, but if you keep going down the same road, it's just gonna be a revolving door for you. Like, we need to figure this out." And that's when, at that time, I was working at a call center in Boulder, and one of my buddies was actually graduating from CU with a creative writing degree. And I was like, "Oh, what are you gonna make children's books? What's going on?" And he's like, "No, I'm gonna do stand-up comedy." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "Well, how do I get into something like that without having to go to CU and creative writing degree and the whole nine?" And he's like, "I'll tell you what." He's like, "Just write 5 minutes of what you think is funny and tag along with me to an open mic." And underneath the Hotel Boulderado was a bar, and that was where I performed my very first set in comedy. And I typed out a piece of paper, took it with me, was like, "This is going to be awesome." I completely bombed reading from the paper. It was horrible. It was a horrible experience. I was drunk. But I took it as a challenge from that night on. I was like, I can do something like this. Like, I can actually try to do something like this. And from then on, I just was like, oh, okay, let me figure out what's kind of funny, what's funny, writing down everything that I thought was funny. And it wasn't until I ran into some local pros in the area in Boulder, and they were like, "Nah, man, you're not talking about anything. Your jokes aren't hitting on anything. What separates you from the pack? Why should people listen to you? What is going to grab people's attention? Like, what story are you trying to tell us? It's not just like, who are you? Not just, fart jokes." So I was like, okay. I was taken back and went home and scrapped all my material and start talking about my real life, the situations growing up in Denver and being gang related and being drug addicted and going to prison and that my whole life basically. And, as comedy progressed, my life progressed, and as it got, better and gave me something to focus on, obviously my stories changed. I do still have more of an edgy style, but I do mix in, being a stepfather and going from the streets and going to a prison and going into a father figure role and coming home from prison and going back to school for psychology and, becoming a youth advocate, and just how my life changed. Basically, just like I said, my story, man, just telling my story. And it just so happens that people find it funny. People find it an attention grabber. Just however we gain followers. I mean, I'm just out here having fun. If you look at my pages and you look at my social media, there's not a whole lot of videos out there of my stand-up. And I guess that's a lazier part on my end with the new, phones everywhere. We can record everything, let me record my set, put it up. But it's, when you do be able to sit down and listen to me do a 20-minute, 30-minute set, you can see, oh my God, we don't live our lives like that no more. So
I normally ask people, right? I ask them their family situation just to try to get an idea. And so you had mentioned like stepfather.
Mm-hmm.
What's your relationship status, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, so I actually run a show here in town. We can get into that a little bit later, but I run a show here in town, and one night running the show, I was heckled by somebody in the crowd, and turns out that 4 or 5 years later she became my wife. And yeah, she had 3 kids at the house. I kind of stepped into that stepfather role, that father role, that position. And they have a decent relationship with their own father, and I make sure that I don't, interject in that situation, but at the same time let them know that I'm always going to be there for them.
How was stepping into that role coming from your home?
It was,
you know what I'm saying? Like the difference between how you were raised versus coming into this situation. How did you?
I mean, when I was raised, it's very weird because I'm even starting to talk about it in my routine about how I'm starting to become a fish out of water, because the times that I was raised, I mean, they're changing so drastically. I mean, you don't see, cholos and lowriders and shooting people up anymore and drive-bys, and you don't hear about the gangster anymore. It's completely changed. So me having the mentality of I'm going to approach everything with animosity and I don't care what anybody says, it's very hard to approach the world like that when everybody else is just so progressed already, and it's just like, oh, am I the dinosaur here trying to beat everybody up? Am I the T-Rex running through the herd trying to eat everybody? And everybody's like, nah, man, we're all vegetarians now. Like, what are you doing? And it's like, oh, okay, well, all right, well, let me take a step back and get my life together, because the way I was taught was, you get your homework done, you do what you need to do, and then it's sports, whatever else you got going on, and then you can go hang out with your friends. But at the same time, if you didn't please your father, you didn't get the good grades, and you didn't hit home runs in the game, your father would come home and smack you around a little bit, and like I said, that is all out the window. That is all changed, and me having to go through that with my own home situation, and then going out and hanging out with my friends, and if we didn't steal this car, or we didn't, rob this person, or we didn't do this, then I was going to get it from the homies too, so either way, I was like, I was always fighting somebody, and that whole mentality is, like I said, that's just so dinosaur archaic thinking, it doesn't work anymore. No. So yeah, when I do step into the role of stepfather, I have to sit down and I'm like, let's talk about this. Let's, what's the issue going on? How can I help you? I try to teach them the right way, like things like, if there's a situation, and somebody does put their hands on you, do not accept that. You can protect yourself in any way, shape, or form. You just gotta curve it another way versus, somebody's talking about you in science class, turn around and smack, you can't do that.
Which I want to applaud you on that, man, because that's a tough one to navigate, you know what I mean? Especially coming from one situation that you're raised in that a lot of people hold on to forever. You know what I mean? Like pivoting and being this type of person for these children and for your wife, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's a really great pivot. But I do want to talk to you about this comedy thing though, right quick. What is like your comedy style? Like, what is your, you know what I mean? Can you be boxed into type of like, who would you say your style is more like, or do you have
I think I was talking to somebody about this the other day, in the simple fact that each comedian itself, we all have, I guess, a certain genre. You could say that he's got more of like a Def Comedy Jam style, or he's got more of a blue collar Jerry Seinfeld type style, or but each comic individually has got such their own unique style that it just, like for me, I feel like my material is real gritty. It's real, I can be, completely squeaky clean if I'm at, the Boulder Creek Festival and I'm doing a, 10-minute spot to promote the Boulder Comedy Festival, that I've never sweated so hard in my life, but I can do things like that. I can be, on the cleaner side here and there, but I'm more comfortable being that blue, that real gritty, that truth teller that, I'm going to make fun of certain situations that not everybody wants to, not necessarily can make fun of.
So you mentioned that, right? Mm-hmm. Where is the line with comedy now? Where can you, it used to be this used to be just a free-for-all. You get your jokes off.
Yeah.
But now you see some comics tiptoeing around or, you know what I mean? Like, hey, there's boundaries here now to whereas if you say the wrong joke, maybe, you know what I mean? That could be the rap.
Yeah, and I try to, I guess in my personal routine, I try to make the routine more about, what I see on a daily or how I perceive life to be. Me personally, I'm painting the picture of you coming into my world, a progressed cholo from Denver. I'm trying to paint this picture of how I see life, as it is. I have a COVID joke about let's not get on the first train that we see because maybe the next situation we're going to have to protect ourselves in a completely different way, in regards to it comes out one orifice and not the other orifice, you know what I mean? So let's not jump on the first train. Like I have just perspectives because it's like I see life, oh, okay, well, we're all going through the situation together, but I see some people jumping on this train way faster than other people, and just the way I see things. I'm trying to implement more about my past drug usage and how I was back then. I have a joke about how I was like a great magician when I was in drug. I would take anything you give me and I would turn it into controlled substances. Yeah. Just the way I see life, the way I see Longmont. I have a joke about Longmont being a house party and how we perceive it in a house party. And
I did. So I saw the video how Denver is like the cool.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I try to keep it about me, my home, the way I perceive life, because once you start getting into other subjects, like I'm not a political comedian at all. I don't have politic jokes. I'm not a political person. So you'll never really see me talk about politics, but I am talking about drug content and, like I said, my life, and because I'm not gonna tiptoe around those subjects. I'm not the type of person that's going to tiptoe around those subjects. So for me, it's like, all right, let's take that subject off the table, because if I talk about that subject, it's, somebody's going to be sad. And I don't want,
How do you deal with hecklers, though?
It's funny because there's a group, Facebook group in the Denver comedy scene that we all kind of collaborate and talk to each other about things, and that was one of the situations was how do we deal with hecklers as of late, and everybody's trying more progressive solutions. For me, it's. I hate to say it because it's such an old school way of thinking, but I use the intimidation factor. I'm like, before I got in the comedy game, I was a hustler. I was in the streets. I was a gang member. I was like a rapper. I was a dope dealer that went into the comedy game. I should have been a rapper. But I use the intimidation factor and me talking about the drug content on stage and me talking about prison and I don't really run into a whole lot of hecklers just because the material and the way I carry myself and everything about my set is like, I don't really want to tell this guy anything, so.
So I did want to talk to you about one thing, right? So you being, like you said, like a Hispanic guy. I gotta say Hispanic. So a Hispanic guy from Denver, right?
Uh-huh.
There was recently a video that made national news, like about a woman in Lakewood at a apartment complex.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? A Caucasian woman.
Yes.
And stuff like that. And there was some Hispanics throwing a pool party at an apartment complex that they live in.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It made national news, and she was saying some she kind of lost it a little bit. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say a little bit, but what was your thoughts about that? And do you think that that's something that happens more often than not?
It's funny when we talk about, because in my opinion, in my reality, I guess you could say, there's two sides to the state of Colorado, and there's two sides to Denver itself. There's the country folk. I have another little joke that says, if you're on the east side of I-25, we tip our hats like this. You know what I mean? If we're on the west side of I-25, we're like, what's up? You know what I mean? Like, so in that, there's two different sides of Denver, and for those that know Denver the way I know Denver, the gente Chicanos actually built Denver in like the late 70s, early 80s. It was built by, the Hispanic population. We were a very, very large Hispanic community. We still are a very large Hispanic community. But I feel like Denver and Colorado has always had that two sides to the book. It was a lot of country folk, hanging out, and a lot of the gente, a lot of the culture, a lot of the ethnicity. And I'm not just talking about Hispanic culture. I mean, there's so much diverse culture in the city of Denver. When I was growing up, a lot of the Quig Newton projects, a lot of my friends out in Denver, and a lot of the people I ran with were actually Sioux Indians, so there's just a whole diverse gumbo when it comes to Denver. But I feel like it's either in the ethnic pot or it's in the good old country boy pot, so it just kind of depends on what you want, cowboy chili, or do you want green chili,
I'll let you go ahead and dance around that. Well, you're doing good there with that two-step just now.
But no,
you don't have to answer.
I do feel
wanted a Hispanic opinion about it, because I have my own opinions about it, but you know what I mean, like.
Well, with the video. Mm-hmm. Okay, I run Colorado's only bilingual comedy room down in Denver, which is at Raíces Brewing, right across the street from Mile High Stadium. Great beer, great place to hang out. And we had this similar situation happen. Was it last season? I think it was last season. We had a lady where she was attending, and I usually make an announcement, hey, we're doing comedy, 10 minutes, be prepared, blah, blah, blah. I'd say about a good half hour, 45 minutes into the comedy sets, I have a handful of comedians down in Denver that actually do their sets in just Spanish, like only Spanish comedy. And she started, no comprende, I don't know what you guys are saying, blah, 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 like started heckling the show. So I got up there, and we let the comic finish and got up there, and I told the people, I was like, man, you guys are letting your privilege show tonight, so that's the type of response that I'm going to give you if you put that out there towards us, or because my biggest thing is, it doesn't matter your culture, your heritage, your creed, your religion, your sex, your preference, whatever the case may be. As comedians, this is art. This is an art form. At the end of the day, it's an art form, and I'm not a painter, I can't make my art and then put it on the wall for you to look at for forever. I'm not a filmmaker. I can't make a film and then, it's on your shelf for forever. I'm a comedian. My set has to have you involved. It has to have you there to listen to me in order for me to give you my art form. So for us to pour our hearts out in our art form, and for you to come back and be like, especially in the Hispanic heritage, no, that's not gonna fly.
All right. So what would you tell a young aspiring comedian, or an old one? What would you tell them about, getting in the game? What do they need to know? Or what skill set do they need to?
It's a journey. It's a journey for sure, and thick skin is one of the key elements, man. I remember early on, I've always had a hot head. I've always had a hot head being where I'm from. Like I said, I would always meet animosity with animosity, and I remember one of my friends saying, he's like, "Bro, you can't be a comedian if you don't have thick skin." He's like, "This ain't gonna work." He's like, if you're going to be hot-headed like that every time somebody jokes and clowns on you or whatever, he goes, it ain't going to work. So, yeah, the sensitivity thing, you got to get over that, because you're going to be told no, you're going to be told this, you're going to be told that, you're going to be told you're not good enough, blah, 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 blah. It's a journey, and everybody's got their own journey. You can't sit here and be like, oh, I should have got that water bottle. That should be my water. Like, can't do that. Your water will come. You just gotta keep hustling, and your day will come. You can't stop. Like, my biggest thing is I haven't stopped. COVID, jail, like, I shut down the jail, did a show in jail. Like, I haven't really stopped. I say 10, 11 years because there was times where, I wasn't able, I was in jail or had writer's block or whatever the case may be. But, there was still opportunities. Like I said, I was in Boulder County. I shut Boulder County down, did a whole show while I was in there. You know what I mean? So one of the key things for me is, I didn't stop. I put everything I had into it. There's nights where you cry, you laugh, you blood, guts, whatever, man. You keep going. It's going to suck. There's going to be times where you're like, oh my God, I'm like Continental. I was built for this. You know what I mean? And then there's nights where you're like, oh my God, what just happened? What am I doing with my life? Like, this is not working, And then, like I said, you can't be like, how come he got that piece of pie? That's my piece of pie. Like, you can't think like that. That's gonna tear you up.
All right. So I want to ask you some quick questions, right? So who's your favorite comedian?
New school or old school?
There's a difference?
Because and then old school is a lot different than.
Let's go old school, man.
And then old school is a lot different for me now too, because like when I watched my dad watch comedy, it was George Carlin, Richard Pryor, Robin Williams, the greats, and then I started getting into my own flavor, and like Eddie Griffin and Eddie Murphy and and those guys are considered old now. You know what I mean?
So who's your guy?
So, and then you have like my guy right now that I love to death is Mike Epps and Ali Sadiq.
Okay.
Because they come from the same background, troubles with the law, got your life together, back at it, get out there. I give Cat Williams a lot of props too, because he went through his whole fall down, whatever he went through, and then he's trying again, so I give anybody that who's ever been through that part where you have to completely fall down on your face completely and then get back up and be like, all right, I messed up, let me get my life together again, let me get back at it.
Is there a comedian that you would say doesn't do it? Can you ask that, like, as a comedian? Like, NBA players, they know who can play and who can't, right?
Yeah.
Is there a comedian that can't, that you feel that doesn't bring it, that's really, like, high up there? Like, you know what I mean?
It's comedy is such a weird place, because comedy can bring you up so high, and then comedy will throw you back down on the ground so hard. And look at like Carlos Mencia. You know what I'm saying? He got to the point where he was doing his thing, TV shows, specials, and then they said, Joe Rogan called him out and said, nah, bro, you're fake. You're fake. There was a whole thing at the Comedy Store in LA. Joe Rogan called him out, said, you're fake. You're not a real comedian. Because, Joe, he's got stand-up in his past. So they start calling him out on all these jokes. He gets thrown down to the ground. Nobody wants him. Nobody wants anything to do with him. And as of lately, he's actually been grinding it out again. He's grinding it out again, getting back out there. He's going to be at the Comedy Works, I think, here pretty quick in like the fall. And he was just in Fort Collins not too long ago as well. But that for me is like, okay, you made it. You did your thing. You've had your trial and tribulation, and now you're going back to it. Because there is an opportunity for him to go back and be able to get back to that spot where you're at.
So that motivates you as well?
See
people grind like that?
Yeah, I love to see people grind. I love to see people hustle. I love to see people, not give up. That's my biggest thing is I've seen, people stop comedy, come in, do a couple of years, and then I'm out.
Well, also too, you've seen the bottom.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean. It's just a different get up once you've seen the very bottom. You know what I mean.
Yeah, I do take everything. I appreciate everything. Like anything that comes my way, I'm in awe. I mean, we did like I was talking to you before the podcast, and I was telling you, as of late, I'd say it's been like 3-4 years now. I've been completely done with the system, and since I've been completely done with the system, I've been able to go to Cleveland, North Carolina, Chicago, San Diego, Philadelphia, South Dakota, all these other just to do comedy. Yeah. You know what I mean? And for me, the awes and the wows, because growing up in Denver, I had some points where we'd go to California, we'd go here, we'd go there, but it wasn't a lot of traveling. And then I started getting in trouble. So it was being in the streets and being in the system, being in the streets, being in the system. So basically my whole life I lived that. And then when I got home and I completely left everything behind, and we started hitting the road with comedy, I was like, oh my God, I was in Chicago and I'm like, oh my God, the train's above me, like this is crazy. I just, that wow, that awe factor for me is what, I'm so appreciative of everything that comes my way. Newspaper articles, magazines, going to, eating Chicago dogs downtown Chicago by the river, eating porterhouse steaks in South Dakota, at the casinos in Deadwood.
That's the win.
Yeah, I mean
it's a victory.
Yeah.
Right at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
so what's been your most favorite venue to perform at?
It's kind of a toss up because the club switched over, so I haven't been out there yet since it switched over from COVID. But it was the Comedy Palace in San Diego. I'm getting ready to go back out there probably in like October. We'll figure something out. But it's now the Mic Drop in San Diego. It's the new comedy club there. But the Comedy Palace in San Diego, that was a beautiful spot, beautiful fun room. That was actually one of my first road gigs too. So I love that little area, that little room. And then the Punchline in Philly. The Punchline in Philly, man, is so much fun. Just walking in the door, doing what I was doing, and walking out knowing that I'm a pro in their club, knowing that, I can drop into Philly tomorrow and be like, hey, let me jump on a set, and that's, just being able to do that is an amazing feeling. And not just
professional.
Yeah, not just, shows in the breweries either. We're talking the comedy clubs, so it's big ass wall with everybody's name. Yeah, well,
you know what I mean?
I was sitting there in Philly, and there's a picture of Kevin on the wall. Kevin Hardy's from Philly, and I'm thinking and all these signatures of all these comedians that have been there underneath his picture, and my name's on there. My name's on that wall, and it's just like, wow, like this is crazy, and think 8 years ago, I was sitting in a cell, being approached by my public defender, and he was like, I don't know if we're going to get out of this one. You know what I mean? And it's like,
signed right here.
Yeah.
Now you sign the walls with everybody's name on it.
Exactly.
But my thing is this. So you have a festival this year. Let's talk about that.
So Vatos Locos Comedy Festival is actually, like I said, I run Colorado's only bilingual comedy room down in Denver, which is a true bilingual comedy room. We do sets in Spanglish, we do sets in Spanish, and we do sets in English. It doesn't really matter. I always tell, audience and comedians, we do both. Don't be hesitant to come in and check out a show. It's a very vibrant show. It's an awesome show. But we do that, like I said, at Raíces last Wednesdays of the month. And I was approached by a buddy in Greeley by the name of Rudy Garcia, and he had the idea of doing a show at the Moxie with one of the original Latin kings of comedy, Joey Medina. And I was like, yeah, I'm in. Let's do it. Let's see what we can get out of it. And it was a sold out show. We sold it out, had to bring even more chairs, more tables in. Great show. And then I said, okay, let's try something different next year. So we brought him to Raíces in Denver, and then we brought him to the Speakeasy here in Longmont. And then we took him back out to Greeley, and we had success. We didn't have great success in Greeley. We had some good success here in Longmont. They usually come out to the Speakeasy for comedy here in Longmont. And obviously we had a bunch of success at Raices in Denver. And after we did the 3 shows, I was like, we need to turn this into a festival. This has to be a festival now. And I want to highlight bilingual comics from across the country, not just in our area, and not just, because obviously we know that there's bilingual comics and Latino and gente coming out, every month to support the show. So let's see who's really out there. And so I was like, okay, this year we're going to do it as a festival. We put out submissions, and it's just been overwhelming, the amount of support and the amount of I never knew. We had a submission from Delaware the other day, and it's like, oh my God. I'm like, Delaware. I'm like, what are we doing? I was like, we got tax-free Mexicans in Delaware? Like, what is going on? Like, how are we up in Delaware, And
so when is this thing going on?
It's September 27th through the 30th, and it's going to be at Raices in Denver, Bar 38 in Denver, the Speakeasy here in Longmont, and then it's going to end at the Moxie in Greeley.
Okay.
And we are looking for sponsors. Sponsors. We need sponsors. So
go ahead and throw that plug. That's cool. But you bring up the Speakeasy, right?
Yes.
That's your home court.
Yeah.
That's your, you know what I mean? Comedy, that's your space right there. This is,
the Speakeasy.
You know what I mean? How do you find comics for that?
Oh, dude. Well, I am in rotation at the Comedy Works. And being rotation, you earn your chops. You go from a new name, and then they put you in a basically like a freshman, sophomore, senior category, and you work your way up. And so I'm in rotation at the Comedy Works. I have a lot of different connections I can pull from, and this and that. And yeah, man, the Speakeasy is crazy. The way that show started, it originally started at the Opera House across the street at the Dickens, and it was. I mean, for those that have been up there and those that know the area of the Opera House, it is such a huge venue that, I mean, you put 75 people in there, it still looks like 25 people, So there are issues with the contract and, who was making money, X, Y, and Z. So we ended that relationship. And at that time, Sarah was opening the Speakeasy, and I had walked in there on like a Friday night. It was like 6 or 7, and nothing was going on. Locals in there just hanging out, and I told her I was like, let me do a show on a Friday here. Her DJ comes in later on in the evening, so I said I'll jump in there right before the DJ comes, and then we'll be out of his way. I'm just a speaker, a stand, and a microphone. She was like, go ahead, knock yourself out. And yeah, dude, we've been down there 10 years now. It's
it's legit, bro.
Comedy down there, and I've had people from HBO, Netflix, Hulu, Pandora, just movie stars, original Latin Kings of Comedy.
So how can any comedian locally reach out to you and get on that?
Yeah, just hit me up. I got a few rooms up and down the Front Range, so yeah, just reach out, Side Splitting Entertainment, and yeah, we'll get you in the system, get you going, man.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Sarah too at the Speakeasy on 3rd and Main, man. If you guys are in Longmont, man, check it out. Great spot. Nice intimate setting, especially for comedy. What nights do you do
It's Speakeasies is last Fridays of the month at 7 p.m. and that's Password Comedy. You can usually do reservations online too. When we do the bigger names, we do door only stuff like that. But when we do on the regular nights, you can get online, put a reservation in, get you a table.
Yeah. Nah, bro, but like I said, man, you've been grinding for a minute, bro. You've seen the bottom, you've came out of that, you have a beautiful family now, you have your head on straight, your career ahead of you, man, and it's just a beautiful thing, man, to see, to witness.
Yeah.
And I want to, like I said, I want to give you your flowers now. Look, before you blow up, and then I got to pay you to show up here. Like, you know what I mean?
I appreciate it because I was talking to the Denver Post the other day too, and they were asking me about levels of success, and I tell them, coming from where I'm coming from, the Quig Newton Housing Authority in Denver, and being out here in the Gooseberry neighborhood, condo, front yard, I got a pug, I got a teacup chihuahua, I got a rabbit that runs around in my front yard, pick New Zealand Australian rabbit or something like that. Kids got that. Man, it's the level of success is just, we can always, who wouldn't love a couple of specials and, maybe a movie or two, but, coming from where I'm coming from, like I said, I appreciate everything that comes my way. So being able to, have my home and be where I'm at, that's the true success. That's the true accomplishment there. So,
man, that's a blessing, man. So outside of the festival, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to post the dates up on that and the flyer or whatever like that. And then the speakeasy the last Friday of the month.
Last Fridays of the month.
Is there any other thing that you have going on?
We just added here in Longmont, we just added Outworld Brewing to our calendar too. Okay. And that's probably going to be...
And that's out on 119.
Yeah, 119 out on the other side of Sandstone by the car dealerships out there. Outworld Brewing, shout out to them.
Blast that address up on here too.
Beautiful place, black owned place.
Oh yeah, we definitely gonna blast that one probably twice. You know what I'm saying? Across it. You know what I'm saying?
But no, it's a cool little venue. We're gonna do, I believe it's third Thursdays of the month. It was an open mic type deal for the longest. We're gonna switch it over, do a regular show, get some bigger comics up this way as well. So it's coming around. It's coming around. So
everything's a process, brother.
Yeah.
Like I said, man, proud of you, bro. Keep doing your thing, man. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you coming out here.
I appreciate you having me, man.
Look forward to seeing some more videos and stuff like that. And also, too, what is it again? The Instagram.
Side Splitting Entertainment, all platforms. Side Splitting is Side Splitting ET on Twitter. Side Splitting ENT on Instagram, and then just comedian Ricky Ramos on Facebook or whatever. Give me a follow or whatever.
Hey, man, you heard it here, man. Kingpin Ricky. Don't forget about the deadlift competition tomorrow at the weight pile on the Rockies, man. Even if you're not competing, come support, man. Show some love. Hey, cheer on your local lifters,
What are the prizes? What are the prizes, bro?
Hey, man, cash
Cash
and prizes, man. You know what I mean? You show up and get your lift on, you can find out. You know what I'm saying? We ain't lifting mics. You know what I'm saying? He's like,
what kind of cash is it? Is it legal tenant currency, or is it like, are you paying in yen or what?
Bilingual cash.
Bilingual cash? Pesos? So you're paying in pesos? Oh my God.
Hey, man. Kingpin, this is episode 8. It's a wrap, man. Got the comedian Ricky Ramos, man. Stay in touch, man. I'll holler at you guys later.
Thank you, Longmont.
Bro, you don't get the last word. Look, I went through an episode 2 with somebody. Look fresh in my mind. Nobody gets the last word but Kingpin. We're out of here, man.
Ricky Ramos, everybody. Fort Collins. I swear to God, I'll be the last Mexican you see tonight. I swear to God, there was only 3 of us. The fort pulled up to Home Depot and they were like, we need 3 Mexicans for comedy tonight. Me, JD, and Paul, we jumped in, bro. We jumped in. We got here as soon as we could. I was going to hype y'all up, man, because I love coming back to Fort Collins, especially here. It used to be Hody's. I used to host rap concerts for BKG and them. But yeah, I was going to hype y'all up, man. I was going to get y'all with me. Oh, man, y'all love that energy I bring to the table. Ooh, but y'all don't want to see that because that was my rap days, okay? They used to call me the misdemeanor beaner back in the day. Then I caught 2 felonies. That was over real quick. I'm nervous. I'm a little nervous to be here with y'all tonight. For real, I had to cut my ankle bracelet off to be here with y'all tonight. I did. I kicked that bad boy around the Chihuahua. I was like, Mija, I told the oldest one, Mija, don't let him out of the yard, and we'll get you Dairy Queen on the way home, okay? Stereotypes. I love stereotypes. I love them to death, man. My favorite stereotype. Speaking of stereotypes, let's stop real quick, because as soon as I walked in, y'all looked at me pretty funny, okay? Yes, I am on probation, okay? We already explained, okay? I accidentally sent a picture of my dick to my probation officer. It's all good. My public defender already informed me. It's just a small violation. Don't worry. Yes, I am on probation. Yes, I do have cocaine for sale after the show. Oh, you don't do drugs? Well, guess what, you guys? You're in luck. Yes, I have tamales for sale after the show as well. I got red and green. We're going to hook you guys up tonight. Oh, you don't do tamales? They're too spicy? Well, guess what? I have empanadas for sale. See, some of the white people, I lost y'all. Let's think of them as like artisan or artesian hand pies. I don't know how to say that fucking word. Stereotypes. My favorite stereotype, no matter where we go, no matter where we touch down, it's the same thing. Little old white lady, she sees me coming out the comedy club, middle of the night. Boom, what does she do? She sees me, neck tattoos, clenches the purse. I hate that stereotype because it throws me back, because it's like, bitch, you really think you're stronger than me right now? Is that what's going on? I hate that. Stronger than old ladies. COVID shut us down, man. I had to do shows locally. Like, I did a show in Wyoming. I was doing crowd work. I was like, hey, Wyoming, what do you guys do out here for fun? I swear to God, white boy in the front pushed his chair out. He was like, we fly kites, bro. I was like, what's going on right now? His wife poked her head around. She was like, yeah, and he's good at it too. No science behind that shit. We went to Salt Lake City. Oh, that's the rice cake of America. You bite into that bad boy, you're like, where's the flavor? It scared me because there's no Mexicans in Salt Lake City. For the first time in my life, I swear to God, I felt like a black guy. I thought I saw one Sunday when we were leaving for the airport. I was like, "Orale puto!" I ran over, I hugged him and shit. It was a fucking Filipino dude. I was like, "Oh, dude, this is bullshit." I love it, man. I love it. Summertime, man. Summertime's coming. Let's get ready, especially the ladies. I love the summertime, man. Because y'all don't leave nothing to the imagination. Except for when you be talking to a girl, you look down at her toes, you're like, oh shit, what is that? See, some of you ladies didn't laugh because it's either you or the homegirl. Okay? She got the toenail coming over the sandal. Ooh. The paint's all chipped on it. Looks like an old childhood playground. She got a mole with hair coming out, looking like a Fraggle Rock character. I don't know whether to take you to the mall, get a pedicure, or take you to the river to fish with me. Shit! You take her up to the Pooter Canyon, she's be snatching fish out the water for me. Fort Collins, y'all been beautiful. I'm Ricky Ramos, that's my time.